What's your name?
Polly, said Polly. What's yours?
Diggory.
Is Mr. Kettledrum really mad?
Well, either he's mad or he's really gay.
I'm delighted to see you.
Gay.
Her name is Aunt Lettuce. That's what we're calling her. Aunt Lettuce is a good name. You have no idea how lonely I am sometimes. Why, I declare, she said, that humming noise gets louder here. Oh God, they're vibrating rings. Oh shit, I only just realized. Oh God. Their humming noise is coming from... Oh, it's almost as if it's coming from the rings.
Polly, don't be a fool.
He shouted,
Don't touch those rings. He took my pony.
but it was too late. The bitch put on the ring. Diggory and his uncle were alone in the room. Hey, hey! Chapter 2. Diggory and his uncle. It was so sudden and so horribly unlike anything that had ever happened to Diggory, even in his nightmares, that he let out a scream. Instantly, Uncle Andrew's hand went over his mouth. None of that, he hissed in Diggory's ear. If you start making a noise, your mother will hear it, and you know what that fright might do to her. He's saying, if his mum hears him scream, she might die. To be honest, I'm glad to hear that she is alive though, because like after listening to like the story again, like after I read it, I kind of like realized I made loads of mistakes. Who cares? But I thought the mom might have died, and that's why he was crying. But nah, Diggory just cries over anything. Like anyway, like well, his mum's allergic to sound. living below Uncle Andrew as he's dancing around in his pink cape. Probably isn't the best thing to do. No wonder she's dying. As Diggory said afterwards, the horrible meanness of getting at that chap in that way almost made him sick. But of course he didn't scream. Again. Nah, he's just crying. That's better, said Uncle Andrew. Perhaps you couldn't help it. It's a shock when you see someone vanish. Why, it gave me a turn when I saw the guinea pig do it the other night. As it went... No, I'm not saying. As it went into his booty hole. I tried to tell myself not to make those sort of jokes. Because I'm not doing up those. Oh god, we've got the vibrating rings. The guinea pigs. Oh my god, not the guinea pigs.
Was that when you yelled?
Said Diggory. Oh yes, you heard that, didn't you? I was hoping you would. Have you been spying on me?
No, I haven't,
said Diggory.
But what happened to Polly?
Congratulate me, my dear boy, said Uncle Andrew, rubbing his hands. To be honest, he has kind of done like the neighborhood a favor by getting rid of her. Oh god. My experiment has succeeded! The little girl's gone, vanished right out of this world!
What have you done to her?
Sent her to another place,
What do you mean?
asked Diggory. Uncle Andrew sat down and said, "Well, I'll tell you all about it. Have you ever heard of old Miss Leafry?" That's not her name. It's a weird name. I'm calling her Leafry because that sounds like a nice name.
Wasn't she a great aunt or something?
Said Diggory. Not exactly. She was a queen, like me, said Uncle Andrew. She was my godmother. That's her over there on the wall. He's got her hanging on the wall. Diggory looked up and saw a faded photograph. It showed a face of an old woman in a bonnet, and she was also wearing a very flamboyant pink cape, much like Uncle Andrew's. And he could now remember that he'd seen a photo like this one before with the same face, in an old dresser drawer, at home in the country. He had asked his mother who it was. His mother did not seem to want to talk about the subject much. Alright, well, if this was, Uncle Andrew's godmother, and since they're not related, well, he's got a picture of her up, so they must have gotten along somewhat well. And if she's anything like him, with the same pink cape, then she's probably the reason why his mother's dying, since she's allergic to sound and noise. She's probably very, very, very loud. It was not at all a nice face. Oh, Diggory, that's not a nice thing to say, Diggory thought, though of course those early photographs, one could never really tell. Now, Diggory's a bitch. He doesn't say it out loud, but he's still a bitch.
Wasn't there something wrong with her, Uncle Andrew?
He asked. I think if she got along with Uncle Andrew at all, I think there was something very wrong with her. So yes, Diggory, you should be able to figure that one out. Well, said Uncle Andrew with a chuckle. Oh, well. Oh god, I never get that when they say when you're talking with a chuckle, unless you're gasping for breath and you're I don't know, laughing while you're talking. I don't know, that's hard to do. And it's very hard to do in his voice. I don't know. It depends on what you call wrong. People can be so narrow-minded, and she certainly was very queer later in life. Well, you're both very queer, Uncle Andrew. Did very unwise things, that's why they shut her up. Oh, they shut her up. What did they do?
In an asylum, do you mean?
Oh, they locked her away because her fashion sense was ghastly. Oh, no. They don't put people in asylums for their bad fashion sense, said Uncle Andrew in a shocked voice. Nothing of that sort. Only prison. Actually says only in prison. They only sent her to prison. What did she do? It was the cape. They sent her to prison. This is why Uncle Andrew only wears the cape up in his special room, so he can dance around in it. And they won't send him to prison.
I say,
said Diggory.
What had she done?
Ah, poor woman, said Uncle Andrew. She had been very unwise. She wore clothes that didn't match her colours. There were many good different things. We couldn't get into all of that. She was a very, very kind woman to me.
But look here, what What has this all got to do with Polly? I wish you'd...
All in good time, boy, said Uncle Andrew. They let old Mrs. Lefray out before she died. Oh, well, that was nice of them. Sending her to prison for, like, what seems to be no reason. And then when she's dying, they're like, oh, we don't want to look after you no more. Okay. I was one of the few people whom she was allowed to see in the last days of her illness. She had got a dislike for ordinary, ignorant people, if you understand. I do myself. But she and I were interested in the same sort of things. Oh God, I'm changing his voice. Yeah, you are interested in the same sort of things. You're sharing the same cape. unless he stole the cape. Oh, because she's dying. It was only a few days before her death, and I stole her cape. That she told me she had an old burr. I can't read that word. An old something in her old house, a secret drawer, and bring a little box, and I would find it. The moment I picked up that little box, I saw it was fabulous and decided to steal it. Oh God. Yeah, she does say that, like, he promises to burn it, and he's like, nah, it's too, like, he says, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. He decides to keep it. Well, that was a jolly rotten thing of you, said Diggory. Rotten? I'm not rotten, I'm fresh. In my pink cape, Uncle Andrew said with a puzzled look. Oh God. Like, he promised to, like, burn it for her, like, he promised. And he goes on to say, like, oh, he's not gonna burn it because the rules don't apply to him. Like, oh, I see, you mean that little boys ought to keep their promises. Very true. And most right and proper people, I'm sure, are very glad you have been taught to do so. But of course, you must understand that rules of them sort, however excellent, they are just for little boys, servants, and women. I can't possibly be expected to obey them all. As he said this, he sighed and looked very grave and noble and mysterious that Diggory for a second really thought that he was saying something rather fine. It's not because he's saying fine things, Diggory. It's the cape. I swear there's something about this cape. Like, the old woman had it, and now suddenly, you know, Uncle Andrew has this cape. Maybe the cape is, like, cursed or something, and, like, and, like, Diggory is like, oh, I want that cape. You know, like Lord of the Rings, the ring. Well, this is, like, the cape equivalent. The fabulousness is just so appealing. Diggory is just, like, listening to all this shit that Uncle Andrew is pulling out his ass, like, saying that, like, the rules don't apply to him. And he hasn't mentioned Polly for a while, so he's forgetting about Polly, and he's just staring at this cape like, you know what? That's a pretty nice cape. I think I'm gonna steal this cape. But then he remembered the ugly look he had seen in his uncle's face the moment before Polly had vanished, and at once he saw through his uncle's grand words.
All it means, he said, that he thinks he can do anything he wants because he's so fabulous in that cape.
Of course, said Uncle Andrew. I didn't dare open the box for a long time, for like a day or two. I was doing my nails for a while, so yes, I left it on the side for a bit. For I knew it might have been highly dangerous, for my godmother was a very remarkable woman. In truth, she was one of the last mortals in this country who had very blood in her veins. Very, fairy. I can't say it properly in his voice. He said she's a fairy. She said there used to be two others in her time. One was a duchess and the other a chairwoman. In fact, Diggory, you are now talking to the last man, possibly, who really had a fairy godmother. There! Ooh. Diggory's not gonna like this. He's gonna be jealous. He gets the cape and a fairy godmother? Nope, that's not fair. Oh. That'll be something for you to remember when you're an old man yourself. Oh, Uncle Andrew's just rubbing it in his face. Yeah, you can tell other people I had a fairy godmother. I bet she was a bad fairy, said Diggory. See, jelly. He wants the cape and he wants a fairy godmother. And added in a very loud voice, but what about Polly? Oh, you do harp on about that, said Uncle Andrew, as if that's what really matters. Yeah. Like, didn't you have like a plan for her though? Like, did you just send her to like, I think it might have been Narnia. I don't know where that ring has sent her. Like, he's just like doesn't care. He's just glad that he got rid of the bitch. My first task, of course, was to study the box itself. He's just he's saying he's doing an experiment and he's just like, no, check out this box. There's a reason I didn't burn it. It's encrusted in jewels. It's so fabulous. It's bright pink, matching my cape. It's got a little triangle. Oh god. And he's just like, I studied it for days. I studied it for days. Oh, forget about Polly. She's a bitch. It was a very ancient, and I knew enough to know it wasn't Greek. Oh, he goes on about like where he finds it like 2 hours later, after he like names all these countries that it might have belonged to, like India, or was it Chinese? No, it can't possibly belong any of there. Someone must have dug it up. Like it says, so like someone dug it up. Oh god, and it's a very long paragraph, so 2 hours later, he paused for a moment and expected Diggory to say something, but Diggory had died of boredom at this point. Reviving him, Diggory was disliking his uncle more and more every minute. Oh, he's jealous of the box now too. After he described the box, Diggory's like, he's got a fairy godmother, he has a pink cape, and now he has this fabulous box. And I still don't have a pony. They took my pony! Meanwhile, continued Uncle Andrew, who ignored the dead look in his nephew's eyes as he went on. I was learning a great good deal in other ways. What? I was learning a good deal in other ways. It wouldn't be proper to explain it to a child about magic in general. He's hinting about like, I learned about magic, but I'm just gonna tell you I know lots of magic, but I'm not gonna tell you what I can do. He's listing all these things off, that's just pissing Diggory off more and more, like, I took your pony, and I have a pink cape, a fairy godmother, I have this box, and I can do magic. What can you do, Diggory? It's just, Diggory's just sitting there, like, burning with jealousy, like, weeping as well. Because Diggory cries a lot. He's just crying with jealousy. By various tests, I narrowed down the possibilities. I had to go and get some, I had to meet some devilishly queer people and go through some very disagreeable experiences. He had to to learn about this really fabulous box. I'm imagining like like to get this like fabulous box, like to learn about, he had to go through some devilishly queer things with these people and do some really nasty things with them. I reckon Uncle Andrew used to be normal, and then like this godmother came and he was a little bit weird. Like he used to muck about with her, and then he found the cape and he got really jealous and decided like to kill her for it. And just slip her poison or something for this cape. And then on her deathbed, he's like, what else have you got? And she's like, oh, I've got this really nice box, but you have to burn it. You can't have this box, and burn the cape. Or she wants to be buried in the cape, and he just dug her up and stole it. And to learn about it, he finds all her really weird friends, and he's like, he's not quite wearing the cape yet. He's just like kind of like using it as a bathrobe or something. I don't know. Like ties it round his waist, and then he meets all these people trying to learn about this really fabulous box, and they turn him weird. Like, they make him do some really disgusting things, and that's what turned Uncle Andrew into a wizard eventually. Being just a complete freak turns you into a wizard. And the cape helps. That was what turned... That is... Oh god, it actually says that. That is what turned my head grey. Oh, so he had normal hair as well, and then it turned into like that like gay that gay like grey flamboyant mop that he has now. He used to be just completely normal, and then it was just like a downward slope once he met this fairy godmother. Don't trust fairies, people. Don't. You may become a magician, but don't trust them. They turn you into freaks. One doesn't become a magician for nothing. Again, confirming what I just said. My health broke down in the end, but I got better. And at last, I actually knew. All right, I'm just gonna read that again. So you, like, this is what it actually says. This is what it actually says. By various ways, I narrowed down the possibilities. I had to know some very devilishly queer people, and through some very disagreeable experiences. That's what turned my hair grey. One doesn't become a magician for nothing. My health broke down in the end, but I got better. And at last I actually knew. That whole story I just told you. Confirmed. The fairy godmother, the cape, the box, the devilishly queer people, the horrible experiences, they all turn you into a wizard. That all turns you into a wizard. A gay wizard, but a wizard. Although there was not really a chance of anyone overhearing them, he leaned in forward to Diggory. He just wanted to lean into Diggory. That's what he wanted to do. Oh god. Alright, this box has a really weird name, so I'm gonna call it the fairy box. It's easier. The fairy box contained something that had been brought from another world, and when our world, it's just the beginning. What? Actually, yeah, what?
That sentence made no sense!
Only dust, said Uncle Andrew. So he basically just said, when he finally did open the box, there was just dust in it. Fine, dry, very sparkly dust. Glitter. Nothing. It was absolutely fabulous. I took jolly good care not to touch it. I was saving it for my rave party, and thought every grain must have been from another world. I don't mean another planet, you know. I mean part of another world. Another from another nature, from another universe, somewhere you would never reach even if you traveled through space and time and the universe forever and ever. You would never reach, only with the power of magic. Uncle Andrew rubbed his hands together till his knuckles cracked like fireworks. Ew. Uncle Andrew's hands are just so disgusting. Like, they tried to say that they were, like, beautiful before, but he's, like, always cracking them, and they sound, like, really just, like, ugh. It just, ugh. I knew, he went on, if only you could get it to it in the right form, that the dust would draw you back to the place it had come from. What? That makes no... Uncle Andrew, that makes absolutely no sense. That's like the equivalent of saying that if you went to the beach, got some sand, and then went to another world, and then you touched your sand, it would send you back. And he's saying something about it being in the right form. The cock ring form! We lucked out. Oh no. Narnia is a very, very weird place if you need the power of cock ring fairy dust, fairy glitter dust, to send you there. But it was difficult. But the difficulty was getting it in the right form. My earlier experiments were all failures. I tried them on guinea pigs. Oh no, not the guinea pigs. Not the guinea pigs again. He's been trying cock rings. But vibrating rings on guinea pigs. Nope. Some of them only died and others exploded like bombs. Seriously, that's what fairy dust does to guinea pigs? So, by the sounds of it, Uncle Andrew, I reckon when he first found this dust, he was like overjoyed and he started throwing it at people and they started exploding. That's why he only had like enough to make like 4 rings, vibrating rings. Because he just used like this huge box of like fairy sparkly glittery dust, like just throwing bombs at people, and then he's like, all right, let's see if this can send us to a magical place. Let's make it into vibrating rings. Oh god. It was jolly cruel of you to do that, said Diggory, who had once had a guinea pig of his own. But when he moved in with Uncle Andrew, it suddenly disappeared, along with his pony, because he was blowing them up. Oh no. You keep getting off point, said Uncle Andrew. Yeah, shut up, Diggory. We're talking about exploding animals here, and you're getting off the point. That's what I bought those creatures for. I bought them myself. Let me see. Where was I? Ah, yes. At least I succeeded in making the rings. The vibrating rings. The yellow rings, but now a new difficulty arose. I was pretty sure that the yellow rings would send any creature who touched it into the other place. The other place. That's gonna be the world of fabulousness and rainbows and other weird things. But But what would be good of it if I couldn't get them back and them to tell me what they had found there?
But what about them? Said Diggory. A nice mess there'd be if they couldn't get back.
You keep looking on the wrong side of everything, said Uncle Andrew with a look of impatience. Yeah, Diggory, you're looking on the wrong side of things, even though that's exactly what I was talking about. Oh, can't you understand that the thing is a great experiment? The whole point of sending someone into the other place is that I want to find out what it's like. What it's like. Oh no, he's pretty sure it's a place of rainbows and, like, you know, glitter is kind of a good sign. Like, exploding glitter that sends you to another place is obviously gonna send you to a nice place. But he wants to test with guinea pigs first. And now he's testing with children because he only just figured out that guinea pigs can't come back and tell him.
Well, why didn't you do it yourself then?
Diggory had hardly ever seen anyone so surprised and offended as his uncle did with that simple question. Me? Me? He exclaimed. The boy must be mad! He actually says that. A man at my time of life, in my state of health, to risk the shock and dangers of being flung suddenly into a different universe? Have you gone mad? So he's pretty sure that that it's gonna be a great place, but he doesn't. But you know, the exploding glitter. It's a little bit too good to be true. It might be a horrible place that won't be too good for his health. Oh, God.
And you suppose you sent Polly into it then?
Said Diggory, his cheeks flaming with anger now.
And all I can say, he added, even if you are my uncle, is that you've behaved like a coward sending a girl in the place of yourself.
Silence, sir, said Uncle Andrew, bringing his hands down on the table. And then the other one up to Diggory's face. Talk to the hand, bitch. I will not be taught to that by a dirty little schoolboy. You don't understand. I'm a great scholar, the magician. Oh, I love her. I am the queen of everything. Uncle Andrew is awesome. He loves himself. He just like he doesn't like hear what he's saying. Just like whatever. Whatever. Oh, God. Bless my soul, you'll be telling me next I ought to have asked the guinea pigs permission before I used them. No great wizard can be reached without sacrifice. Oh, wisdom. But the idea of going myself is ridiculous. It's like asking a general to fight in the common soldier's place. Suppose I got killed. What would become of my life's work?
Oh, do stop drawing, said Diggory. Are you going to bring Polly back?
I was going to tell you when you rudely interrupted me, said Uncle Andrew. Imagine if he was just like, I'm not going to tell you now because you interrupted me. That's the end. The end. That I did last find out a way of doing a return journey. The green rings you draw you back. So, I've got a theory here. You know that what they were saying about sending their kids to sea? I reckon that's why they didn't go to sea, because Uncle Andrew was being sneaky, and he actually did go back and like get sand so he could make these rings. Because Uncle Andrew's logic is just completely just completely insane. Like, he thinks he's got like a box full of glitter and it's so wonderful, he thinks it must send you to another world. And he starts throwing it at guinea pigs and he's like, you know, it's making them explode. And he's like, yeah, this will work. I'll make it into a vibrating ring. And then he thinks, you know what? What's like glitter from our world? I don't know, sand. Um, I'll use sand to make this.
But Polly doesn't have a green ring.
No, said Uncle Andrew with a cruel smile.
Then she can't get back,
shouted Diggory, weeping. Oh, he misses his friend. He misses being bossed about. He's like one of those guys who kind of likes being abused. Like, he generally seems to like crying, so like Polly's the girl for him.
And it's exactly the same as if you murdered her.
What? What? He's saying the fact that he sent her there without like giving her away back is the same as murdering her. No, Diggory, that's not as well. Unless the reason why she just disappeared, maybe she blew up on the other side. Like how would you know? Like, what if like before it was just blowing them up, and then like it was actually true, like he used magic to send her to another world, but the power, like, you know, this dust still blew her up, you know. So no matter what, the dust will blow you up. It's just like, you know, he did use magic to send her another place. If it just blew you up on the other side, like that would make the story just so much more interesting. Like, and he'll be like trying to use his sand ring to try and go back as everyone's blowing up. She can get back, said Uncle Andrew, if someone else goes after her, wearing a yellow ring himself and taking 2 green rings, one for himself and one to bring her back. Ah, he had a plan. It was a very obvious plan. But Diggory's like, oh snap. And of course Diggory saw the trap in which he was caught, and he stared at Uncle Andrew, saying nothing, with his mouth wide open. I wouldn't open my mouth in front of Uncle Andrew. Like, we all know what he's like by now. I hope, said Uncle Andrew pleasantly, in a high, mighty voice. We've got his voice spot on. His voice is. I haven't been doing it so much in this episode because he's had a lot of stuff to say, but this voice pretty much is high and mighty. Oh god. Just as if he were the perfect uncle who had given one handsome tip and some good advice. Really? This voice means I have handsome tips and good advice. Listeners, if you ever hear someone with that voice, they're giving you handsome tips and good advice. I hope, Diggory, you will not. You are not given to showing up the white feather. What? Alright, I think that's like a proverb or something. Ignore it. I should be very sorry to think that one of our family is not honored and charitable enough to go to the aid of a lady in distress. He was actually like, should I call her a bitch? I'll call her a lady.
Oh, shut up, said Diggory. If you had any honor at all, that you would be going yourself.
Diggory has got a point. You've just like Uncle Andrew's just been like, you know what, you're a pussy if you don't go. I'm fine though if I don't go. I've got a cold, you see. I'm ill. I can't go.
But I know you won't. Alright, I see. I gotta go.
Again, very, very easily convinced by peer pressure. Diggory is just like, alright, I'll disagree with you and call you a bitch, but... Oh, he actually does. He's like, but you are a beast! You're a beast! but I'm gonna do what you say anyway.
I suppose you planned this the whole time, so that you would go without knowing, and I would have to go after her.
Of course, said Uncle Diggory with a hateful smile.
Very well, I'll go. There's one thing, I jolly well mean it first. I didn't believe in magic at all today. I see now, it's real. It's so real. Well, it is. I suppose the old fairy tales are more or less true.
It's only true if all these fairies are like evil, or it ends with like if it ends with like Uncle Andrew going around killing them and stealing their shit, like their pink capes and their boxes.
And you're simply a wicked, cruel wizard, like in all of those stories.
Hey, I got it spot on. I got it. Guys, did you hear that? Did you hear that? I got it spot on. It is true. It's true. It says in the old fairy tales are more or less true, and you're like the wicked, cruel magicians and all of those stories. So he does go around stealing all the fairy shit and killing all the fairies for their fabulous shit.
Well, I never expect to read those people with people which aren't.
Oh, I read that wrong.
Well, I've never read one of those stories in which a people of that sort don't get paid out at the end, and I bet you will, and it serves you right.
So basically he's saying, Uncle Andrew, you're gonna get your just desserts at the end of this, and I'm stealing that cape, bitch. And then I'll be the evil wizard who steals all the fairy shit. Of course, all the things Diggory had said at this point first was well, alright. It's basically saying Uncle Andrew was just like looking horrified that he said this, and then he's like, whatever. Whatever. Uncle Andrew stared at him with a horrid look on his face. But then he smoothed down and said with a rather forced laugh, well, I suppose it's only natural for a child to think that. Especially one brought up amongst women, such as you have. Old wives' tale. Ha! Uncle Andrew's sexist as well now. He's just like, you're a pussy. That's basically what he's saying. He's saying, you're a pussy, you were brought up by these women. You don't understand wizard business. Shut up. Whatever. I don't think you need to worry about my danger, Diggory. I got my cape and my box of glitter. Wouldn't it be better to worry about the danger your little friend's in? She's been gone for some time now. If there is a dangerous place over there, well, it would be a pity to arrive at the moment too late. So he's basically just like, I've had enough of this conversation, and I'm not too sure this place is so nice. I have a feeling it is actually dangerous. She's probably blown up by now. You should hurry.
A lot you care,
Diggory said forcefully,
but I'm sick of this jaw. What have I got to do?
You really must learn to control that temper of yours, my boy. Oh. That's so contradicting for Uncle Andrew to say, since Uncle Andrew is the one with like the meanest temper. Like, he's the one who like flies off the handle if you try and take one of his yellow rings. Which no, the green rings. Wouldn't that have like done nothing? Like, if his theory was right, wouldn't that have, like, you know, if she touched that, it wouldn't have done anything? Or maybe it does just make you blow up. Maybe that's the joke. Like maybe the yellow wing rings do send you to Narnia because they're made out of fairy dust, and then like maybe you put like, you know, mixing in with the sand for like the green rings, you put like gunpowder, so when you come back you just blow up. Oh god. And that's another thing. Like, what if you had like both the rings on at the same time? Like, what happens then? Like, does it just tear you in half, or what? Otherwise, you'll grow up like your Aunt Lettuce. Now attend me. No, he's saying Aunt Lettuce has a mean temper. Aunt Lettuce is probably like a really chilled out woman, because like she's lettuce. She's like an iceberg lettuce. And he got up and put on a pair of gloves and walked over to the tray that contained the rings. They only work, he said, if you actually touch them with your skin. Wearing gloves, I can pick them up like this, and nothing happens. If you carry one in your pocket, nothing would happen. But of course, you have to be careful not to put your hand in your pocket and touch it by accident, or you'll blow up. And I want to see what you do first before you blow up. The moment you touch the yellow ring, you vanish into this hopefully a world. It might be a vortex or something, but hopefully it's a world. Then you'll go to the other place, I expect. Of course, this hasn't been tested yet, but I expect that the moment you touch the green ring, you vanish and you'll end up in our world. I expect. Of course, it's only sand and gunpowder, so I have no idea what it'll actually do. Now, take the 2 green rings and drop them into your right-hand pocket. It sounds like he's setting him up. Like, if you're right-handed, I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure, like, if you're right-handed, you're more likely to put, like, your dominant hand into your pocket more than, like, you know, your left hand. So like, he's kind of setting him up here. Like, what if it did work? Like, what if it was like all like, you know, perfect, like ethereal was like spot on? What if he just kept on like slipping his hand in and just reappearing and like, what's the update? Like, while he's in the middle of doing something, like, I don't know, battling a lion, I guess, like Aslan. I don't know why he'd be fighting Aslan, but like he puts his like hand in his pocket and he's just like, whoa, whoa, shit, I have to go back. Or if he's wearing like the yellow ring, then he just gets ripped in half. And then it's like basically, you know, game over. Remember very well carefully which pocket the green one's in. G for green and R for right. GR, you see, the first 2 letters of green. Wizard logic. One for you and one for the little girl. Let's call her a bitch. And now you pick up the yellow one yourself. You should put it on your finger. If I were you, then there's less chance of you dropping it. And also more chance of you ripping in half if you accidentally touch the green one, which will be interesting to see. Diggory had almost picked up the yellow ring when he suddenly checked himself. Look here, he said. What about Mother, supposing she asks where I am? I don't think she will, since she's allergic to sound, you know. She's probably just, you know, she's slowly dying from all like the sound of like your uncle like dancing and screaming on like in the attic. Like, she's not gonna ask where you are. The sooner you go, the sooner you'll be back, said Uncle Andrew cheerfully. He's just like, Diggory, no one cares about you. It's fine. Your mum, you're too loud for your mum anyway. Have you heard the way you speak?
But you don't really know whether I'll come back.
Uncle Andrew shrugged his shoulders. No one cares if you'll come back. Walked across to the door, unlocked it, and threw it open and said, "Oh well, I guess you'll just do as you please. Go down and have your dinner. Leave the little girl to be eaten by wild animals and drowned or starve, well, the other world, or get lost for good, if that's what you prefer. It's not me." He's basically saying she's gonna die if you don't go there. At this point, Diggory should be just like,
You know what? You know what? She's a bitch, and there's plenty of bitches around here. Whatever.
Perhaps before tea you should drop in Mr. and Mrs. Plummer's house and explain to them that they'll never see her daughter again because you were too afraid to put on a ring, you pussy.
Actually, I think you've done them a favor. They're pretty afraid of their alcoholic daughter.
They would be they would be so overjoyed if someone turned up at their house and was just like, "She's gone. She's gone.
The witch is dead."
They'd be throwing a party. They would all have a turn breaking chairs just to celebrate it. Like they'd be buying these really nice chairs. Like I reckon they've been like living on like IKEA chairs for like a while now because they're cheap, and like you know they break apart pretty easily, so there's less of a mess. But like you know now that Polly's gone, they can afford the nice chairs. They can finally just be like, we can have nice furniture. But of course, Diggory is easily swayed by peer pressure, and so he's like,
they would be really happy, but I feel like you're pressuring me to go, so I'm gonna go.
And I love this. There's some of the things that they get him to say is really funny. Like, he goes,
"By gum, I don't just wish I was big enough to punch you in the head."
Then he unbuttoned his coat and took a deep breath. He's stropping before entering this world, like he's doing like a Chuck Norris, where he's just ripping off his clothes and, "I'm ready!" and picked up the ring. And he thought just then, as he always thought afterwards too, that he could have not have done anything else other than that, because he was peer pressured, and Diggory is very easily swayed by peer pressure. And that is the end of chapter 2.